Welcome back. Tonight, your journey is not toward the bright noise of modern Christmas, but toward an older and quieter celebration, resting inside the glow of a Victorian Christmas Eve. It is a night shaped by gas lamps, candlelit windows, and the slow hush of snow along London's narrow streets. A night where Christmas moved with a gentler rhythm. Before we begin, tell me what you are listening to this video on. Is it your phone, your iPad, or another device resting beside you? If I had to guess, the battery is probably somewhere around 45%. That is more than enough for the journey we are about to take together. Lower the light in your room, allowing the edges to soften. Find a position that feels steady and comfortable. Pull your blanket up toward your chest, feeling its warmth settle gently over you. Let your shoulders ease, your breath fall into a slower rhythm, and the rest of the day drift quietly away. You do not need to become anyone from the past, not a Victorian noble, not a scholar of old traditions. You remain entirely yourself, simply stepping into a moment from another century that waits patiently on the other side of your imagination. When you are ready, walk with me into the Christmas Eve of 1843, where the night rests beneath candlelight and the city prepares for a holiday unlike any you know today. You step down from a horse-drawn carriage and onto a slick, uneven cobblestone street. The stones shift slightly beneath your weight, and the cold presses up through the soles of your shoes, sharp, immediate, unmistakably real. Your breath curls into the night air in pale clouds, each one fading almost as soon as it appears, dissolving into the winter darkness, as if the night is quietly swallowing every trace of heat. Somewhere above the fog and the chimneys, Queen Victoria is still young on the throne, and London is learning how to celebrate Christmas in a new way. You become aware, with a slow, dawning clarity, that this is not your century. This is London in the early Victorian age, on Christmas Eve of 1843, an evening poised on the edge of tradition and invention. The darkness here feels different from the nights you know. There are no bright electric streetlights humming from above, no neon signs glowing over doorways, no constant ambient light spilling from screens or traffic. Instead, a row of gas lamps stretches into the fog, their yellow flames trembling behind fogged glass. Each lamp casts a soft pool of light onto the wet stones, leaving wide folds of shadow in between. The glow seems to breathe, drawing you deeper into this older world. Before you even fully see the city, you smell it, the heavy, earthy scent of coal smoke drifting from dozens of chimneys. It mingles with the crisp scent of freshly fallen snow, which sharpens the cold air and makes every breath feel clean and bright. This is the smell of a world powered by fire, not electricity, of warmth earned through labor, not delivered with a switch. Women in layered dresses hurry past you, their skirts brushing lightly against the cold air. The fabrics shift and whisper with each step. Men in tall hats and wool coats stride with purpose, shoulders slightly tightened against the wind. You feel like an invisible guest in their world, present but unnoticed, as if the century itself is granting you passage through its winter night. You hear the faint metallic rattle of carriage wheels striking stone and the steady rhythm of hooves echoing down the narrow road. No engines, no blaring horns, no electric hum, just horses, wheels, boots, and the subdued rustle of winter clothing. The soundscape is simple, steady, and strangely soothing, like an older rhythm your body remembers without ever having known it. You drift toward a glow of warmth at the edge of the street. A vendor lifts the lid from a metal drum filled with roasted chestnuts, and a wave of fragrant heat sweeps toward you. It touches your cheeks and fingertips, warming them in a fleeting moment of comfort. The vendor's movements are slow, practiced, as if he has spent countless winter nights standing beside this drum, offering warmth to anyone who wanders close enough. A few steps away, neat rows of meat pies steam gently in the cold. You imagine breaking one, open the flaky crust, cracking softly beneath your fingers, the aroma of gravy and herbs rising into the air like a promise of shelter from the chill. It becomes clear how deeply winter food matters here, how much comfort is packed into these small, humble dishes. A girl passes by with a paper cone of roasted potatoes held tightly in her hands. The heat drifts toward your skin for just a moment, like a sigh of warmth, and then fades back into the cold. You become aware of how sharply this city shifts between temperature and sensation, cold and warmth, darkness and glow, scarcity and generosity. Each step feels like stepping through a different layer of winter. Near a lamppost, a thin figure stands quietly, holding a small box of matches. The stillness around this child stands out against the movement of the street. Their presence is fragile, almost transparent, and you sense that in this Victorian London, Christmas Eve carries two truths at once: celebration and survival, joy and endurance. Resting side by side beneath the falling snow, a cluster of shoeshine boys runs past you, boots splashing through shallow puddles and slush. Their laughter rings out bright and high, carrying a familiar Christmas tune through the cold air. The sound cuts cleanly through the night, adding a thread of hope and playfulness that seems to stitch itself into the city. As you continue forward, you study the way the city looks without electricity. Instead of one large, overwhelming glow, you see many small, individual flames, lanterns swaying gently, candles flickering in windows, gas lamps breathing quietly. The darkness between them feels deep, but not threatening, more like a space that invites reflection rather than fear. Following the echo of laughter, you come upon a frozen pond turned into an impromptu skating rink. Children glide across the ice, coats billowing behind them like small, fluttering wings. Their laughter rises into the cold air, crisp and clear, like bells chiming in the distance. The surface of the ice reflects the glow of lanterns held by nearby families, creating patches of shifting gold on the snowy bank. Another group of children stands watching. Their coats are thin, their shoes worn, their posture tucked inward for warmth. You sense immediately that they belong to the workhouses, to the harshest edges of Victorian life. Their faces are young and hopeful, yet marked by the endurance of cold days and colder nights. A woman approaches and offers them red apples, one for each waiting hand. The gesture is simple, but it strikes you deeply. You watch the small hands reach up hesitant, grateful, and you feel something soften inside you. This act, gentle and unannounced, glows brighter than any lantern. In this Victorian Christmas, joy and hardship stand close together. Warmth and struggle share the same streets, the same snow, the same night. You begin to understand how deeply a warm drink, a shared treat, or a kind glance can matter here. You compare this quiet street with the Christmases. You know, bright lights, loud music, crowded malls, the fast pulse of modern celebration. Here, the celebration feels slower, deeper, built out of breath and flame, intention and care. A Christmas made of small things, held gently. You don't know it yet, but many of the traditions you grew up with, cards, crackers, trees, stories, are only just beginning on these very streets, carried by the hands and voices of people who are shaping the holiday into something new. You hear the soft crunch of snow beneath your shoes as you continue walking. The rhythm of your footsteps seems to align with the calm heartbeat of the city, steady and grounding. The air feels colder now, but the cold is familiar, almost welcome. A thin veil of fog sweeps across the street, drifting between the gas lamps and turning their flames into soft halos of gold. For a moment, it feels as though the city is reaching out, drawing you inward, gently closing the door behind you on your own time. As the mist thins, you see a line of wooden stalls ahead, decorated with garlands and lit by lanterns. Warm light flickers against ornaments and ribbons, casting soft, moving patterns across the snow. The glow feels like a quiet invitation. You take a slow breath, feeling the cold air fill your lungs. You let it out again, watching it fade into the Victorian night like a pale ribbon unwinding in the air. You feel a quiet pull, almost magnetic, guiding you toward the glow ahead, toward the heart of Victorian Christmas. And you follow it, step by unhurried step, toward the Christmas market of 1843 London. You step beneath a simple wooden arch and enter the Christmas market. Snow rests along the edges of the stall roofs, like soft lace, softening every line and smoothing each sharp corner. The fresh dusting gives the whole scene a gentle, rounded look, as if the market is tucked safely beneath a blanket of winter. Lanterns hang from hooks and beams overhead, their flames shifting slowly with each small movement of air. The light sways, scattering warm, trembling reflections across the snow-packed ground. You walk between two rows of wooden stalls, each one glowing in its own little pool of amber light. Snowflakes drift down in loose spirals, settling on your coat and melting instantly against the warmth of your body. They leave tiny cold spots that disappear the moment you notice them. With each step, you feel as though you're entering another small world, each stall its own island of color, scent, and craft within the dark Victorian night. Your first stop is a craftsman's table. Wooden toys are arranged in careful, neat rows. Carved horses, dolls with hand-painted faces, tin soldiers polished to a muted silver. You lift one of the toys, feeling the slight, deliberate roughness of hand-carved wood under your fingertips. The grooves, the weight, the faint scent of sap, they all tell stories of quiet hours spent shaping and smoothing. Nothing here feels mass-produced. Everything carries the warmth of someone's time. You glance at the packaging, or rather, the absence of it. Gifts here are not hidden under glossy plastic or printed cardboard. Each object is wrapped in sheets of old newspaper, tied with simple twine, or nestled gently into scraps of fabric. The modesty of it all settles softly in your chest. It feels honest, human, intentional. You feel an unexpected tenderness toward these simple little bundles and the hands that prepared them. You move to another stall just beyond the toy maker's table, where early Christmas cards are displayed in a neat, slightly crooked line. Small hand-painted scenes fill each card, robins perched on branches, children bundled in heavy coats, cottages tucked beneath layers of snow. Some of the brushstrokes are uneven. Some colors bleed past their outlines, but the imperfections give the cards a warmth that printed images rarely hold. They feel like winter moments captured lovingly by real hands. You learn, in a quiet, effortless way, that the penny post has made these cards possible for ordinary people. For the first time, families across the city can afford to send simple Christmas greetings to one another. It's a quiet revolution made of paper, ink, and a single penny. As this thought settles in you, a postman moves through the market with a heavy bag slung over his shoulder. The bag bulges with folded cards and sealed envelopes. You watch him disappear down a narrow street, carrying messages that will be opened quietly in homes. Later tonight, or early tomorrow morning, a brighter splash of color pulls your eye toward another stall. Paper tubes, crackers are stacked in cheerful little pyramids. Their patterned wrappers glow under lantern light. You imagine the moment when two hands pull one apart, the sharp pop of the cracker bursting open, the tiny cloud of paper jokes and trinkets spilling out, a spark of surprise, a burst of laughter. Here, in 1843 London, so many traditions familiar to you are only beginning to breathe. You walk farther down and find bunches of holly hanging from wooden beams, their berries glinting like drops of red glass against the deep green leaves. Ivy curls around the supports in soft spirals, its evergreen vines creating stripes of life in the winter stillness. And there, high above one stall, mistletoe hangs pale and fragile, like a piece of moonlight caught in a tangle of branches. You feel how deeply these people cherish nature during the darkest months. Holly and ivy are more than decoration. They are symbols of endurance, of greenery surviving the cold, of hope held quietly in winter darkness. A swell of music drifts across the market. You turn toward the sound and find a group of wassailers weaving slowly through the stalls. Their voices rise and fall in warm harmonies, softened by the snow and the gentle press of the night. The scent of spiced cider drifts from their cups, mingling with the smell of warm bread offered to them by grateful listeners. Their footsteps crunch softly in the snow, keeping rhythm with their song. You breathe deeper, letting the scents of roasted chestnuts, freshly baked pies, pine branches, and cinnamon fill your lungs. The smells layer together into something rich and soothing. You feel the warmth of them settle into your chest, loosening something inside you. The market seems to exhale with you, as if you and this Victorian world are sharing the same slow breath. The market is busy but never frantic. People move at a gentle, human pace, pausing to admire a handmade toy, choosing a single perfect card, smoothing a ribbon with care. They linger to listen to a familiar carol, to warm their hands over a brazier, to exchange a story or a smile. Here, what matters is not how much is bought, but how thoughtfully each object is chosen. A gift here is not abundance. A gift is intention. As you begin to step away from the toy maker's stall, the craftsman reaches out and presses a small carved bird into your hand. The wood is smooth and light, its wings shaped with quiet precision. It fits perfectly against your palm, as if it has been waiting for you. The gesture is simple, offered with modesty, but you feel a gentle warmth spread through your chest, steady, unexpected, unmistakably human. You think of how different modern markets can feel: bright, loud, crowded, urgent, places where motion never stops and sound never fades. But here, in Victorian London, the rhythm is slow, almost ceremonial. You feel the difference in your shoulders, in your breath, in the way your steps naturally become quieter. You sense that this Christmas values meaning more than motion, presence more than pace. A sudden gust of wind slides between the stalls, slipping into your coat. It sends lantern flames trembling, shrinking briefly into thin, trembling points before swelling back into steady glow. Shadows shift across the snow in soft, staggering patterns. When the wind passes, the market returns to its gentle pulse as if nothing had disturbed it. You pull your borrowed coat or shawl closer around your shoulders, savoring the contrast between the cold air outside and the warmth radiating from the fires lit inside each stall. Snowflakes brush your cheeks before melting on your skin. The whole market feels like a living thing, breathing, glowing, gathering itself around you in subtle, comforting ways. You pause for a moment, breathing in the mix of pine, smoke, and spice. The air feels layered, cold at first breath, warm at the next, then cold again. Almost like the city itself is breathing with you. Slow, rhythmic, ancient. Ahead, a soft glow spills from the doorway of a nearby Victorian house. Unlike the lanterns of the market, this light is deeper, steadier, more golden, like warmth collected and stored behind thick walls. Something quieter, more intimate, waits inside. You take one last look at the market behind you, the stalls glowing softly beneath their snowy roofs, the wassailers humming another carol, the toy maker carving another small figure. Snow crunches beneath your feet as you turn toward the house. You carry the sounds and scents of the market with you, the music, the spices, the flicker of lantern flames. They settle gently around your heart, forming a memory warm enough to walk with you through the rest of this Victorian night. And step by slow, unhurried step, the Christmas market softens behind you, its glow dimming, its sounds drifting, guiding you toward whatever waits within that warmly lit Victorian home. You cross the threshold of the Victorian home and immediately feel the air change around you. The cold falls away the instant the door closes, as if someone has drawn a heavy curtain between you and the winter outside. Warm air enfolds you like a soft blanket, carrying comforting traces of wood smoke, dried citrus, cloves, and something sweet simmering in a nearby pot. Your skin tingles as sensation returns to your fingers and cheeks, the chill melting slowly, as though the house itself is welcoming you into its embrace. You move farther inside, your footsteps sinking into a thick, woven rug that muffles the last crisp echoes of snow beneath your shoes. The shift in sound, sharp to soft, is so gentle. It feels like a sigh. You step into the main room, and your eyes are drawn instantly, irresistibly, to the Christmas tree standing near the hearth. It is a real tree dance, fragrant, reaching almost to the ceiling. Its branches seem to hold the forest inside them, each needle catching the glow of warm light. Ribbons drape gracefully from bough to bough. Strings of dried oranges, gingerbread cookies, and small handmade ornaments sway in the faint current of warm air circulating through the room. Tiny candles stand in neat metal clips, their flames trembling softly. Each flame sends threads of gold dancing across the walls, turning the room into a small universe of living light. Not long ago, most British homes had no tree at all. Christmas was a quieter thing. Greens on mantels, a modest feast, a church service, and simple customs. But now, the idea is spreading a tree brought indoors, dressed in light and color, turning winter into something almost magical. You learn, without needing words, that Prince Albert and his German heritage helped bring this custom into English homes, a small seed of tradition taking root, destined to grow into something vast and deeply familiar. You take in the rest of the room slowly, letting each detail settle. Holly leaves and berries are arranged along the mantelpiece. Bright red dots resting against glossy green. Ivy winds down the staircase railing in loose curls, looking like a living ribbon that guides the eye upward in gentle spirals. Christmas cards, hand-painted, newly exchanged, are pinned to walls and tucked onto shelves, forming a collage of winter landscapes, robins, sprigs of holly, and handwritten well-wishes. Stockings hang near the fire, each one simple and stitched by hand. They carry quiet expectation in their shapes, the promise of small surprises come morning. You can almost see tomorrow's light falling through the window, illuminating children's hands, reaching into those stockings with sleepy delight. The fire crackles steadily in the grate. Logs shift, releasing sparks that leap up in tiny arcs before disappearing into the dark chimney. The flames cast a warm glow that softens furniture edges, smoothing shadows into gentle shapes and making every surface appear touched by gold. You feel the warmth on your face, steady and soothing. You take a place among the gathered family, unseen yet entirely present. A hush fills the room, tender and comfortable, the kind of silence that only exists among people who know one another well. It settles like fresh snow, softening everything. A book is opened. Its pages are crisp and new, carrying the scent of fresh ink. The title is familiar to you. A Christmas Tale by Charles Dickens, newly printed, already treasured. You listen as the story begins, not through spoken dialogue, but through the rhythm of narration. unfurling into the room. The cadence rises and falls like firelight, steady, grounding, and warm. As the tale progresses, you sense how deeply it resonates with the family. The city described in the pages is their own. The struggles within it echo their own. The hope woven through the story feels like something they can place their hands upon. You feel the power of storytelling in an age before films, before radios, before screens. Stories here are not background noise. They are gatherings, warm spaces where everyone leans in together. You think of living rooms in your own time, each person's face lit by a separate glow, a phone, a tablet, a television, a family together, but pulled towards separate worlds. Here, in this Victorian house, every gaze rests on the same story, the same page, the same flame, a single shared moment, unbroken. You notice the children inching closer to the hearth, shoulders touching, heads tipping toward each other. As the story turns eerie or hopeful, ghost stories at Christmas time, you realize, are a cherished Victorian custom, a gentle shiver in a warm room, fear softened by firelight. It feels ancient, familiar, strangely comforting. When the story reaches its end, the room brightens, not through the light, but through the shift in energy. The solemnity dissolves into motion. The family begins parlor games, simple but lively, proving that a handful of imaginations is all the entertainment they need. You watch charades unfold, exaggerated gestures, sweeping movements, silent scenes acted with wide eyes and dramatic pauses. Laughter ripples across the space, airy and effortless. Another game begins rhythmic, quick, built of descriptions and playful word patterns. You notice how easily these games bridge the gap between children and adults, pulling everyone into the same circle of joy. Without modern entertainment, the Victorians turn to each other, and in doing so, they create their own kind of magic. Imagination becomes lantern light, laughter becomes warmth. Without meaning to, you feel yourself leaning closer to the fire and the gentle hum of voices, as if some ancient part of you remembers how to belong in a room like this. Something inside you loosens, settling into place like a thread being gently tucked into a weave. Time moves softly here. Music, laughter, and the fire's crackle blend into a steady rhythm that encourages your shoulders to drop, your breath to lengthen. You feel the room's warmth moving through you, easing away the remnants of the cold outside. Even the air seems thicker, more soothing, as though it carries a touch of drowsy contentment. Somewhere deeper in the house, a clock begins to chime. Each note is clear, measured, and calm. The sound gathers the evening, marking the moment when the family will begin their walk to the church. The next chapter. In this Victorian Christmas Eve, you watch coats and scarves being lifted from hooks. The door opens and a rush of cold air slips in, sharp enough to make the candle flames tremble, but they steady again quickly, glowing stubbornly in the dim room, as if refusing to surrender their warmth to the night. You step back outside with the others. Snowflakes drift down, settling gently on your coat. The warmth of the home lingers on your skin, even as the cold wraps around you again. You carry the memory of the Christmas tree, the firelight, the stories, the games, the laughter, and the quiet magic of that Victorian room. As you follow the gentle flow of people down the snowy street, the glowing silhouette of a stone church rises ahead, waiting to draw you deeper into this Christmas night. You awaken into Christmas Day in the Victorian world, as if the night has simply turned a page. There is no jarring shift, no sudden noise, only a gentle brightening of the world around you. The air feels different now, clearer, softer, touched with the quiet promise of celebration. Pale winter light filters through small paned windows, in muted shades of silver, the kind of morning light that seems to hover rather than shine, settling softly over the room like a delicate veil. You lie still for a moment, letting the silence settle. Somewhere deeper in the house, you hear the faint stir of early activity, the careful tread of footsteps, the rustle of fabric being arranged, the low murmur of voices preparing the day. None of it is hurried. Everything seems to unfold in its own soft rhythm, as though the house itself knows the shape of Christmas morning and is moving gently into it. As you rise and step quietly down the hallway, the warmth begins to grow. The air becomes richer, heavier with comforting scents and radiant heat. Each step draws you nearer to the kitchen, a pocket of early spring, tucked inside the dead of winter. When you enter, the warmth meets you fully. It presses softly against your skin and settles around your shoulders. The oven has been burning for hours already, transforming raw ingredients into the feast that will anchor this day. The smell of roasting goose drifts through the air, rich, savory, layered with herbs and slow heat. It curls around you like an invisible ribbon, inviting you closer. On a nearby counter, rows of mince pies rest in their cooling tins. Their golden crusts are dusted with sugar that glitters when the pale morning light touches it. Each pie is small, deliberate, made with care. You feel the tenderness of the gesture woven into every detail. You scan the work table and see bowls and jars scattered across its surface. Smudges of flour cling to the wood. Traces of spices cling to the rims of jars: cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, ginger. Dried fruits glisten in their bowls like small jewels. The scents rise upward, mingling with the warm air in soft waves. The kitchen feels alive, not with noise, but with purpose. You learn about Stir-Up Sunday, the late November day when the Christmas pudding was first mixed. You can almost see it now. The family gathered around a large bowl, sleeves rolled up, each taking a turn to stir the thick, fragrant mixture. You imagine the sound of spoons scraping along the sides of the bowl, the murmured wishes folded delicately into the mixture one by one. Each spoonful added a hope, quiet, private, meant for the year to come. Even now, you can feel that memory hanging in the air, as though the walls themselves remember it. You see the pudding now, shaped and ready, resting like a dark, dense treasure under the glow of the kitchen lamp. Someone pours brandy over its surface, and it glistens like polished stone. When the moment is right, a flame is set to it. Blue fire blooms across the pudding in soft, rippling waves. The light is quiet but mesmerizing. The room instinctively leans closer, drawn by the shimmer of color and heat. The blue glow dances across eyes and walls, giving the scene a faint, otherworldly shimmer, one of the small, magical rituals of Victorian Christmas Day. Nearby, you hear the rhythmic clink of cutlery being set at the table. Christmas crackers are arranged beside each plate, their colors bright against the muted tones of the wooden table. They wait to bring quick bursts of sound and laughter, small interruptions of joy between bites of the feast. Even without words being spoken, you sense the growing anticipation. It is not loud or exuberant, but subtle, felt in the slight shifts of posture, the soft hum of movement, the warm undercurrent in the air. Victorian Christmas carries excitement, not in noise, but in readiness. Another tradition begins to take shape. Snapdragon. You watch a shallow dish being filled with raisins and a modest amount of brandy. The surface is set alight, and blue flame curls low over the dark fruit. The fire barely rises, but seems to breathe instead alive. Whispering, nimble fingers reach in to snatch raisins from the flame. Moving quickly but carefully, the game feels half daring, half ancient ritual. Something passed down through winters, long before, but the laughter is soft, the movements cautious, as though the fun lies not in risk, but in the strange, glowing beauty of the moment. You join the family at the table as they settle into their seats. The room grows quieter, fuller. You feel the gentle weight of the moment, the way a year's labor and hopes culminate in this single shared meal. Plates are passed from hand to hand, carved slices of goose with crisp, golden skin, spoonfuls of buttery vegetables, generous helpings of pudding warmed by brandy flame. Steam rises upward in delicate spirals, adding another layer of warmth to the air. You listen to the murmurs of conversation low. Content, unhurried. Soft laughter drifts across the table from time to time. Crackers snap open with brief bursts of sound. Paper crowns are unfolded and placed atop heads, turning the entire table into a procession of modest, playful royalty. The silliness is quiet but present, as though joy itself knows how to whisper. You notice the way each dish carries a story of time, of mixing, stirring, waiting, and hoping. When you think of modern holiday tables, overflowing with abundance, you sense the difference. Here, nothing is taken for granted. Every flavor matters. Every bite has meaning. The feast is not impressive by its scale, but by the care laced through every part of it. As the meal continues, fullness settles through the room, not only from the food, but from the presence of those around you. Gratitude, connection, warmth, they gather slowly like folds of fabric, layering the space with comfort. Outside, the world remains cold and white, still and distant, but inside, warmth has been built piece by piece. Fire, food, shared effort, shared hope. Near the end of the meal, you hear someone mention Boxing Day, a morning devoted to carrying boxes of food, coins, or small gifts to servants, tradespeople, and those with less. It is a gesture woven deeply into the Victorian idea of Christmas, where charity is part of celebration. You realize that Christmas here is not a single date on a calendar. It is part of a small season. 12 days of warmth and custom, threaded through winter's darkest stretch, a season held gently, carefully, as though it needs to be protected from the cold. You let out a long, quiet breath, the warmth of the kitchen settles into you. Not just the physical heat, but the warmth of meaning, of tradition, of ritual. In this Victorian home, on this winter morning, you feel the deep calm of a holiday, crafted from intention rather than abundance. A day that unfolds not quickly but slowly, like a story being told one page at a time. And as you sit there, wrapped in the warmth of food, fire, and quiet company, you feel the gentle truth of the moment settling softly into your bones. You walk with the others along a snow-covered path toward a stone church, standing solemnly at the end of the street. The building rises from the white ground, like something carved from the winter itself, solid, ancient, and softly glowing in the darkness. Stained glass windows shine from within, scattering small mosaics of red, blue, and gold across the untouched snow. Each patch of color looks like a quiet blessing placed gently upon the earth. The closer you come, the more the sounds of the outside world fade. Your footsteps soften. Even the wind seems to hush itself. It feels as though the church draws a circle of stillness around everything near it, a sanctuary not only of stone, but of silence. When you step inside, a hush settles over you so completely. It feels physical, like stepping into warm water after being out in the cold. Candlelight fills the vast interior, soft and golden, pooling at the bases of wooden pews and rising along the stone pillars. Hundreds of small flames shimmer in the air, the light of each one fragile yet persistent. Together, they illuminate the entire space in a warm glow that feels older than memory. Then the organ begins low, resonant notes rolling through the air like distant thunder, softened by centuries of echoing stone. The sound moves beneath the arches and along the carved wood, filling the church with something that feels both earthly and otherworldly. You find a place among the gathered people. Wool coats, shawls, and mufflers surround you in a gentle patchwork of winter texture. Bodies shift softly, settling into the pews. You hear the faint creak of old wood beneath weight, the subtle exhale of someone warming numb fingers, the quiet rustle of fabric as families lean closer together. Human closeness becomes the fragile warmth held beneath the vast ceiling above you. Across the aisle, you watch a group of workhouse children being guided quietly into the church. Their coats are thin, their shoes worn smooth by long days, but their eyes are alert, searching for something that might anchor them on a night like this. Volunteers move forward with trays of simple food, bowls of hot soup, thick slices of bread still warm from the hearth. Steam curls upward from each bowl in slow, spiraling threads, drifting toward the vaulted ceiling like brief, ghost-like ribbons. Small hands reach out, hesitant at first, then steadying as the warmth settles into their palms. You sense that, for some of these children, this meal may be the most generous they receive all week. No fanfare accompanies the offering, no speeches, no display, only quiet hands giving and quiet hands receiving. You feel a deep stillness settle in your chest at the sight. In this age, the idea of a proper Christmas is becoming tied to charity, to giving something, however small, to those who have less. It is a budding ideal shaped by both hardship and hope. woven gradually into the fabric of the holiday. You can feel that shift here, gently rooted in the actions unfolding around you. The organ swells again, then softens. As a carol begins, voices rise in unison. Not perfect, not trained, but warm and full. The sound fills the church in layers, harmonies overlapping like waves. You feel the vibration of the music in your ribs. Even though you do not sing a note, it feels as though the melody moves through you instead of merely around you, settling into the quiet spaces within. Somewhere near the back of the church, a presence shifts, a figure moving slowly, deliberately, as though stepping through a story rather than down an aisle. A man in a long green robe enters your view. His garment is the deep green of pine needles, heavy and embroidered, with patterns that catch the candlelight. A crown of holly rests atop his head, the berries bright against the dark leaves. He walks with the calm gravity of an old tradition, one older than the modern images. You know, this is Father Christmas in green, a spirit of winter rooted, not in commercial invention, but in fields, forests, and ancient midwinter feasts. He carries a small bundle of gifts, simple things, but offered with ceremony. A sweet, a piece of fruit, a small carved token that fits gently in a child's hand. You watch as he gives them out, one by one. Each gift lands softly into waiting palms. Faces brighten, shoulders lift, eyes widen with an unguarded joy. You feel something inside you warm in response. Not because the gifts are large, but because they are given with intention, with presence, with care. You realize that here, generosity is measured not in size but in spirit. A faint winter draft slips through the aisle, and the candles respond. As one, dozens of flames tremble, elongate, then steady themselves again. Shadows climb the walls in slow patterns, rising and falling like soft breaths. The movement makes the entire church feel alive, breathing quietly around you. As the service continues, time seems to stretch and soften. You hear the soft slide of pages turning, the faint scrape of a boot on the stone floor, the quiet cough someone tries to stifle. Every sound feels magnified by the surrounding silence, yet none of them disturb the peace. They belong to it. The organ releases its final notes, long, fading lines that drift upward and dissolve into the arches. The carol ends, the voices fall still, and the church enters a silence so deep it feels like the night holding its breath. In that stillness, a sense of calm settles slowly over your body. It is not a sudden warmth, but a deep, sinking quiet that spreads from within like warmth seeping gradually into cold earth. Your shoulders soften, your breath deepens. The moment feels earned, like a reward for the long walk through snow, the long year behind this night. Then the church bell begins to ring. Each toll is clear, measured, resonant. The sound fills the space with a presence that feels almost physical. You sense it ripple through you, not merely as noise, but as something the night has been waiting for, as if the bell is marking not just time, but acknowledgement, gratitude, witnessing. The congregation remains still as the bell continues. Its tone seems to bind the evening together, tying warmth to cold, charity to need, light to darkness, voice to silence. You understand. in the quiet, echoing space, that before modern lights and crowded parades and glittering displays, Christmas often felt like this, a gathering of warmth in the midst of darkness, shared softly among many, a night built not of spectacle, but of presence, not of noise, but of stillness, not of abundance, but of meaning. As the last toll fades, the candles continue to flicker gently, their small flames hold steady, in the lingering silence fragile, persistent, like hope itself, and for a long moment, you simply sit there, breathing in the warm, sacred quiet of a Victorian Christmas Eve. You step back out of the church and into the waiting cold of the Victorian night. The door closes gently behind you, and the muffled warmth of the candlelit sanctuary lingers like a fading embrace. Snowflakes drift downward in slow spirals, swirling in the faint glow spilling from the windows. Each flake lands softly on your coat, melting almost instantly, leaving tiny beads of water that glisten and vanish. Your breath rises again in pale clouds, but something inside you has changed. The cold feels different now, less sharp, more familiar, as though the night has shifted its posture, and now welcomes you instead of confronting you. The air feels quiet and expectant, like a moment that knows it is nearing its end, but wants to stretch itself just a little longer. You follow the gentle curve of the path back toward the street where your journey first began. The gas lamps stand in their same quiet places, steady and unmoving, but their light seems warmer than before, softer, almost golden, as if everything you've witnessed tonight has subtly altered the way the world around you glows. The cobblestones glisten faintly beneath a fresh dusting of snow. The surface looks smoother now, gentler, as though the city itself has been softened by the celebrations unfolding within it. The sound of your footsteps blends into the hush of falling snow, a slow, deliberate rhythm that carries you calmly forward. As you walk, the memories begin to gather themselves around you, one by one. You remember the Christmas market, the handmade toys arranged with care, the early Christmas cards painted in imperfect, charming strokes, the way each stall had felt like a small world of its own, the toy maker pressing a tiny carved bird into your hand, the scent of roasted chestnuts, meat pies, pine branches, and cinnamon weaving together into a warm, comforting perfume. You hold the memory of the Christmas tree glowing with real candles, their flames trembling gently in the warm air of the living room. The ribbons, the dried fruits, the hand-stitched ornaments catching the light. The tree felt alive, not just decorated, and its glow seemed to settle into the room like a second hearth. You recall the stories told by firelight, the way ghostly winter tales softened into gentle shivers in the safety of that warm room. You remember the laughter of parlor games, powered only by imagination and shared presence. No screens, no noise, just people leaning toward one another, sharing moments shaped by light and voice. Your memories drift toward the kitchen of Christmas Day, the warmth of the oven radiating outward, the scent of spices rising from wooden bowls, the careful rhythm of hands preparing each dish. You remember the stir-up Sunday tradition, the pudding stirred by many hands, each spoonful folding in a wish For the year to come, you remember the bloom of blue flame dancing across the desert, the daring little game of snapdragon, flickering like a visiting spirit of winter joy. Then your thoughts return to the stone church. The stillness, the candlelight, the weight of the music echoing beneath the arches, the workhouse children, cupping bowls of warm soup, their shoulders lowering. Has comfort reached them at last, the quiet generosity that flowed toward them, without expectation, the softness of that kindness offered in silence? You see Father Christmas again in your mind's eye. His long green robe, his holly crown, the quiet gravity with which he moved through the pews, an ancient spirit older than the modern stories, placing small gifts into waiting hands with the gentleness of a winter guardian. As you gather these memories, they begin to settle into a single shape, a soft, luminous outline that feels warm and familiar. And then you realize they answer a single, simple question. This is how the Victorians celebrated Christmas, with warm rooms in cold nights, with handmade gifts and new traditions, with storytelling, charity, and candlelight. You compare it once more with the present day. The glow of screens versus the glow of firelight, the abundance of modern shelves versus the modest, carefully chosen gifts of the past. In the Victorian world, every small light seemed to matter. Every shared moment carried a quiet weight. Celebration was not a spectacle, but a gathering, not noise, but nearness, not abundance, but intention. As you reach the street where your journey began, you notice one final window glowing with candlelight in the distance. The flame inside is small, steady, unwavering, like a final thread connecting you to the world you are slowly leaving behind. You let that glow settle inside you, gently, like an ember you can carry home, an ember that warms without burning, guiding you with its soft, persistent glow. Little by little, the sounds of the Victorian city begin to fade, the echo of carols, the crackle of hearth fires, the soft murmur of voices drifting from warm rooms. All begin to drift away, dissolving like snow melting on your coat. The lamps blur softly at the edges of your vision. The cobblestones grow hazy. Even the falling snow seems to grow lighter, fainter, as though it is turning into memory right in front of you. The last traces of Victorian snow and candlelight drift into a warm glow behind your eyes. You feel yourself crossing an invisible threshold, the world of 1843 gently releasing its hold on you, letting you drift back into your own time, as softly as a breath. And then you are back in your own room, your own time, your blanket soft around you, the night quiet and still. Some small ember of that Christmas long ago rests quietly in your chest, steady, glowing, gentle, and with that warmth lingering inside you. You are free to drift, slowly, peacefully, deeper and deeper into sleep,